My name's Hannah and I'm auditioning for the role of JonBenét Ramsey. Do you know who killed JonBenét Ramsey?
28 years ago, the tragic death of 6-year-old beauty queen, JonBenét Ramsey, sent shockwaves around the globe. Found murdered in her family's basement, her case remains one of the most haunting and unsolved crimes in American history. Her brother, Burke Ramsey, just 9 at the time, remained silent until now. After decades of mystery and speculation, Burke has finally come forward, and what he reveals is leaving the world shocked. Why did he wait so long? And could his words finally unlock the truth behind JonBenét's death? Join us as we expose the real secret behind the death of the adorable child star. It all started in December 1996, when the Ramsey family's holiday season turned into a nightmare. On December 26th, 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey was discovered dead in the basement of her Boulder, Colorado home, her life brutally cut short. She was found with a garrote, a strangulation device embedded in her neck, and an autopsy later revealed that her skull had been fractured. The strange part was the ransom note left behind, which claimed that she had been kidnapped and demanded $118,000 for her return when her body had been in the home all along. Shockingly, her father, John Ramsey, discovered her body in the basement, and this led to a major problem. The suspicion fell on the family. The bizarre ransom note, demanding $118,000 and matching a bonus paid to John Ramsey, along with no signs of forced entry, led to a lot of speculation. The crime scene was not properly secured, and the media was after them, making the Ramseys target in their own home. But in 2006, significant DNA evidence cleared the Ramseys of involvement. Genetic material from an unidentified male was found on JonBenét's clothing, shifting the investigation to the possibility of an intruder. This exonerated the parents, but it still failed to identify a suspect. 28 years later, JonBenét Ramsey's brother, Burke Ramsey, attracted public attention when he suddenly broke silence, leaving the world shocked. He refused to take part in any interview or documentary over the years. Even when the new Netflix docuseries exploring the JonBenét Ramsey case was released, he didn't participate. Shockingly, he accepted a 3-party interview on Dr. Phil, making his first public comment since the tragedy. When asked why he finally decided to speak out, after staying silent for almost 3 decades, he said, "If the story is going to be told, I want to tell it. I don't want people talking about me. I would rather tell my own story." Dr. Phil asked him diverse questions about the incident, and he shed light on the shocking happenings of that time. His answer was, absolutely not, to the questions that asked whether he used a bat or flashlight in the incident. He revealed that he stayed in bed, and he thought his sister was merely hiding when she was missing. He also recounted the interrogations with the police during the interview. He was very nervous and confused, as expected from a 9-year-old, and this caused him to smile at times. During dark moments, the police interpreted this as guilt, when really, he was just anxious. During the interview, Dr. Phil dug deep. He reviewed 9/11 call tapes with Burke, discussed why he remained in bed while his family and police were active downstairs, and even revisited the moment Burke found out his sister was dead, not just hiding. He remembered his father telling him that she was in heaven, and that was all he needed to break down in tears. The Dr. Phil episodes also released some interrogation videos that had never been seen. It revealed how Burke responded as a frightened child, and now, he finally has the confidence to publicly confront the rumors and theories he has faced for years. The release of this interview widened the debate around 3 choices. Intruder did it, Burke did it, and Ramseys did it. Burke revealed that he has seen many online theories and speculations that call him guilty, but he held the interview just to get the record straight. But why were the cops so sure that the Ramseys would do such a brutal thing to their own little girl? When 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey was found strangled in the basement of her family's Colorado home, the most popular theory was the idea that the Ramseys did it. At first, the crime scene was chaotic, with families, friends, and police moving freely through the house, contaminating critical evidence. Hours after calling the cops, John found the body, but they were suspected for different reasons. Shortly before reporting her missing, Patsy, JonBenét's mother, found a 2.5-page ransom note asking for $118,000. This was close to John, the father's Christmas bonus. It was handwritten on paper from inside the house. What's more, there were no signs of forced entry, and the ransom note seemed to originate from within the house. That's when suspicion towards the family began. Investigators noted further troubling signs. The garrote used to strangle the child appeared fashioned from a paintbrush handle found in the home. Patsy's handwriting test results on the ransom note were inconclusive, raising eyebrows. Meanwhile, the absence of snow-covered footprints or forced entry led police to surmise that whoever committed the act was familiar with or already inside the residence. Compounding matters was the discovery of JonBenet's body by her father. John Ramsey brought her upstairs, inadvertently disturbing the scene and likely destroying vital forensic clues, action that many experts later criticized as a damaging error. Throughout the early days, the Ramseys hired high-powered lawyers and PR consultants within hours of the event and limited police access to the house. This refusal to comply with police made them look evasive and defensive. It seemed like they were hiding something. Although the cops were sympathetic, they began to focus on the Ramseys as the main suspects. The family's actions and other evidence made the police feel justified about focusing their investigation on the family instead of looking for other suspects. But it was hard to make this stick. For one, there was no concrete evidence to support the Ramseys murdering JonBenet. Also, the family had no motive to want to kill their daughter, which made it all confusing. Eventually, the cops would find evidence clearing the parents. But did you know one of the suspects was 9-year-old Burke? Burke Ramsey, JonBenet's brother, has long been one of the suspects and a focal point for speculation among true crime theorists. Even though he maintained a low profile during his childhood and after the tragedy. Following the murder, the Ramsey family moved back to Atlanta, where Burke, then still a child, stayed out of the public eye while his parents did numerous interviews defending themselves and urging further investigation. In 2008, the Boulder District Attorney officially cleared the entire Ramsey family, including Burke and the late Patsy, after DNA evidence from JonBenet's clothing identified an unknown male, not any family member. Then DA Mary Lacey issued an apology for contributing to the public's suspicion. According to the legal records, Burke was interviewed by investigators at least 3 times and testified before a grand jury in 1999. Officials confirmed he was not considered a suspect. His DNA and handwriting were tested and found inconsistent with evidence at the crime scene. In 2016, the CBS docuseries, The Case of JonBenét Ramsey, revived the Burke did it hypothesis, suggesting a childhood accident turned fatal, and a staged ransom note followed. In response, Burke filed a $750 million defamation lawsuit, but he later settled quietly in 2019. Just before this docuseries aired, Burke made his only public appearance on Dr. Phil, and there, he firmly denied having anything to do with his sister's death. He suspects that it was an intruder, possibly someone from her pageant world, who was responsible for her death. But he could not deny that the cops played a role in delaying the investigation, as he believes they didn't handle it well. What were the issues with the investigation? When 6-year-old JonBenet was found brutally murdered, the Boulder Police Department treated the scene with unexpected laxity. Despite a ransom note signaling a serious crime, the house wasn't secured. Instead, family members, friends, and police non-essentials were allowed free rein, which contaminated crucial evidence, including fingerprints, footprints, and potential DNA, before it could be properly collected. Police failed to search the entire house thoroughly, neglecting areas like the basement wine cellar where JonBenet's body lay. The lone detective on site even told John Ramsey to start searching the house for her, confusing the roles between the cops and the family of the victim. John ended up discovering his daughter's body himself, and as a sorrowful father, he carried her up in tears and fear. This completely disturbed the crime scene, as he removed the duct tape and maneuvered the body. Retired Boulder Chief Mark Beckner later admitted the first response was disastrous. He noted the scene wasn't controlled, the family wasn't separated, and their statements weren't taken until 5 months later. It was a perfect storm. Holiday staffing shortages, confusion over unfamiliar protocol, and social pressures that led to inaction and sloppy handling. Prominent voices, including FBI agent Ron Walker and former homicide detective Joe Kenda, have echoed similar criticism. Walker called the mishandling catastrophic, asserting that departmental philosophy and leadership prevented proper evidence collection. Kenda bluntly assessed the situation as destroyed, arguing the case was irreparably harmed from the outset. Even documentation demonstrated incompetence. Lieutenant Linda Arndt's official report described multiple movements of JonBenet's body before preservation measures were taken, sometimes at her father's instruction, compromising any possibility for controlled forensic examination. To make matters worse, it led to a lot of media scrutiny. As a lot of information was leaked to the media, there was a lot of inaccurate information being circulated, like the false reports of Patsy refusing to reveal John's movements or submit her DNA. This caused the media to spread bad news about the family, and then led to major media scrutiny. The media's coverage of JonBenét Ramsey's murder quickly went from journalism to relentless trial by television, with the Ramsey family becoming its central and often unfair focus. Cable news networks and tabloids relentlessly dissected the case with very few evidence, focusing more on wild theories and promoting ratings instead of facts. Also, Programs like Geraldo Rivera's staged mock courtroom put the Ramseys, especially Patsy, on display as guilty in the public eye. These theatrical segments had no proof and were blurring the line between entertainment and justice. Tabloids made fun of the family, alleging that Patsy forced JonBenet to join beauty pageants and that John had misconduct. But all these claims were later proven to be false. Even at age 9, Burke was dragged into the media maelstrom, as his every move and reactions in interviews and interrogations were analyzed. No wonder he never came out to speak on the case until 28 years later. Clinical errors also became fodder for sensationalism. Details like the ransom note matching John's bonus and having no forced entry were amplified and turned into evidence against the world. Despite the inconclusive evidence, even more, the media ethics fell under fire. Veteran journalists like Michael Tracy called the coverage a public lynching and a media assassination, condemning the sensationalist tactics that vilified innocent people. All these scrutiny and rumors finally died down when the DNA evidence was revealed. But if that's the case, who is the killer? In December 2003, forensic analysts extracted a mixed male DNA profile from JonBenet's underwear that conclusively excluded all Ramseys. That profile was entered into CODIS but didn't match anyone in the database. But by 2016, enhanced testing showed the original male DNA wasn't singular but comprised multiple individuals. Some profiles were found in several locations, including undergarments and ligature items, suggesting a stranger's involvement rather than the family's. This was able to shift suspicion away from the family. But it brought another problem because the cops still couldn't figure out who the killer was. John Ramsey has revealed that key items, like the Garrett used to strangle his daughter, were sent for testing in early 1997 but returned untested. He remains puzzled as to why these items have not undergone DNA analysis. Despite the advancements since 2018, the Boulder PD has not approved testing on the available DNA samples to find out the killer. JonBenet's family has been pressuring the law enforcement to test the DNA again, especially since technology has advanced so much more since then. Even JonBenet's other brother, John Andrew Ramsey, thinks that they could have found the killer much sooner. In a recent interview, JonBenét Ramsey's half-brother, John Andrew, said, "This case can be solved." He believes that the government isn't doing enough and that the community stood against his family. He said, "What happened to JonBenet? What happened to my family? What happened to the community at large is wrong. This 6-year-old little girl was killed on their watch, and ultimately they are responsible for finding the killer, and they can do it, and we want them to do it." He says that he's still motivated to find his little sister's killer, but he is still calling upon the investigators to do better for the sake of JonBenet. He said, "I think it's really important for people to understand that this case can be solved. There's a narrative out there that this is an unsolved homicide and that we just have to accept that as fact, and that is not the truth. If we leverage the evidence and we follow the facts, we will find this killer." He remembered the day he found out that JonBenét Ramsey had passed away. He was taking off from Atlanta, where he was spending the holidays with his mother and sister, and wanted to go to his father's family. Then he got a note saying he needed to call home. The shocking call was something he never expected. Unlike Burke, who hardly ever appeared in public, John spoke more about his sister and the impact on the family. He once told 2020 JonBenet was the kid that kept the conversation at the dinner table going. "You know, she would go around and ask everybody how their day was and what they did, and she was just an energetic and fun kid." He also revealed the issues that their family went through. Patsy had stage 4 cancer, and they also lost the first sibling, Beth, in an awful car accident. They were already going through a lot of emotions and never expected that something like that could happen a second time. But one thing he never expected was that the entire world would turn against them, accusing them of killing their youngest daughter. The media fanned the rumors, making their family situation worse. It wasn't until the new DNA evidence emerged that John and Patsy Ramsey, who spent a decade defending themselves against allegations, were finally free. He has said, "We lost our sister and our daughter, a family member. We were victims, and the very people that we thought were going to come in and protect us and help us were pointing the finger at us. We were just regular people, and then all of a sudden our world just got turned upside down." Despite all the challenges that they faced, the Ramsey family continues to fight. Nearly 30 years after JonBenet's 1996 murder, the case remains open, and her father, John Ramsey, continues a tireless campaign for justice. In January 2025, he met with Boulder's new police chief, Stephen Redfern, expressing renewed optimism after years of feeling stonewalled. Chief Redfern's openness and leadership impressed him and reignited hope. Unreleased interview tapes from 1998, which featured John and Patsy Ramsey, were made public. This showed that prosecutors were searching for inconsistencies in their accounts instead of looking for other clues or suspects. It seems like the narrow focus on the parents caused the investigators to overlook many other pieces of evidence. John Ramsey asserts that crucial pieces of evidence, such as the homemade garrote, ransom note, and blanket, have never undergone modern DNA testing. He argues that Boulder PD has resisted using advanced genetic genealogy techniques that helped crack cases like the Golden State Killer, and he's bolstered his requests through meetings with police, the DA, and even lawmakers. In November 2022, Boulder PD partnered with the Colorado Cold Case Review Team. Since then, they've digitized thousands of tips and interviews, inventorying 2,500 evidence items, and creating a searchable database. Chief Redfern pledged continued commitment, stating publicly that all viable leads, including DNA testing, are being pursued. Despite these efforts, John remains frustrated. He's petitioned Colorado's governor to intervene and release evidence to independent labs, convinced that fresh DNA analysis could identify JonBenet's killer. The recent Netflix docuseries further spotlighted these untested items and renewed public attention. Although the family has been working on finding the killer, the Ramsey brothers are still working on building a fulfilling life. Now 37, Burke lives a quiet life in Michigan as a software engineer after graduating from Purdue University with a degree in computer technology. He has always been avoiding media exposure before and after the interview with Dr. Phil. He also refused to participate in Netflix's 2024 docuseries, citing the past unfair media treatment and online speculation. As for the Ramseys' older half-brother, John Andrew, now in his 50s, appeared in the new Netflix docuseries, defending his father, John, and stepmother Patsy, and also criticizing the Boulder police. He's been a vocal advocate for his sister's case. In 2008, when the innocence of John and Patsy Ramsey was proven with the DNA results, everyone thought it would be a relief for the family, but the killer was still not found, and Patsy unfortunately passed away. In July 2011, 15 years after JonBenet's death and 5 years after Patsy's passing, 67-year-old John married Las Vegas fashion designer Jean Rousseau in Charlevoix, Michigan. Jean, who had 2 adult daughters, grew up in East Africa and believed in John's innocence. Together, they maintain a blended family across Michigan and sometimes Utah. Do you think their family can ever find the killer? Or do you think too much time and damage passed for justice to ever truly be served? Let's know in the comment. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.